few weeks ago, we flew out to Portugal with Fast Bikes magazine to test 10 of the best sports bikes on track. Now, there was pretty much everything you could have wanted there. All the latest Ducatis, the latest MV Agustas, the new S1000RR, the new R1, even the Kawasaki H2 and Triumph's middleweight Daytona 675R earned themselves a spot. Now, two really well-known bikes which didn't make it onto the test were the Suzuki GX1000 and this Honda Fireblade. We thought we'd try and find out why they didn't make it onto the test. So to start off with, we headed down to P&H and Crawley to have a go on this gorgeous Repsol Honda for a few days. Bit of background on the Blade. Where do you start? It's a legendary motorcycle. It's not just an iconic superbike, it's an iconic motorbike full stop. In fact, last year, Honda claimed that 1 in 3 bikes sold over 750cc since 1992 has been a Fireblade. Now, this is obviously the latest version of the Fireblade, but it's the same general shape and model as the 2008 model. It's obviously gained some upgrades over the year, like ABS. It's lost that snub-nosed look. It's got Showa big piston forks, but it's still down on the electronics. It's got none really. It's got no launch control, no traction control. There's no quick shifter, there's no rider modes. It's all very basic. And that's obviously not gonna help it in tests like Sports Bike of the Year. So we've established that it falls a bit short on the electronics front, but what does the bike have? It's got that 1000cc inline 4 engine. Honda claims 178 horsepower and 84 foot-pounds of torque. It's got big powerful twin disc Toxico brake setup, fully adjustable suspension, and a big chunky 190 section rear tyre. Obviously, Fast Bikes magazine Sports Bike of the Year test is carried out on a circuit, but sometimes the less track focused bikes like this Fireblade can actually make better road bikes. So let's find out. Having just ridden the bike, one of the things that's jumped out to me the most is the suspension. It's not electronic, it's not semi-active, it's not even Öhlins, but it does the job so well. There's so much feel and there's so much feedback. And the roads that we've just ridden have been really bumpy. And I know on other bikes that it's jolted through the bike and the Fireblade's just glided over them, which is what suspension should be. The engine, I reckon Honda might have been telling porkies when they said 178 horsepower. It just doesn't feel that quick. Saying that, it's really, really smooth. But I think what lets it down the most is the drive off the bottom end. It's just not got the same punch that some of the more modern superbikes have. You really have to be in the right gear. Another thing is it's very quiet. Now, some people might really like that. Personally, I think it adds character, it adds a bit of excitement to the bike. It would have helped it a lot. Some of the less exciting stuff, still worth mentioning. The seat is really comfortable. Again, the riding position is really comfortable. The dash is easy to read. It's a big, massive layout. It's got a large digital gear indicator. And because there's no electronics, the switch gear is really simple, which is good on one hand. It's basic. You're not going to kind of flick a load of stuff and you don't have to worry about settings. But at the same time, it's not very interesting. It's similar to the kind of switch gear you'd find on a sports bike from 10 years ago, whereas on the new Panigale or the new R1, you get there and there's this gorgeous cluster of different buttons, color TFT screens. It's not quite as exciting on the Blade. Another standout feature that is so simple is the combined ABS system. All it does is when you add a bit of front brake, it completely eliminates front brake dive over the front forks by adding a bit of rear brake. So it just keeps it really flat going into a corner. If you're a bit jerky in the brakes, you don't go on it, dive, let go, and then fling back. It just keeps the bike super stable. So when you pick a line in the road, it just tracks along it, no dramas. Put it simply, it's just a really easy bike to ride quickly. The Blade makes a surprisingly good town bike as well, because the steering lock is so big that you can whip it around and do loads of 3-point turns to your heart's content. And then also the mirrors fold in, which doesn't sound that special, but actually it's a feature that's kind of been phased out a bit on modern superbikes. Loads of people no doubt say the bike's potential far outweighs the rider's talents and all that stuff, but that doesn't change the fact that the differences compared to the modern superbikes are noticeable. The gearbox isn't as sharp, the brakes aren't quite as precise, there's obviously no rider aids, and it just feels a bit blunt compared to the competition. I feel like I've been a bit mean to the old girl, just saying how it falls short compared to all its rivals, but where the Blade does win over them is how it won't hit your wallet quite so hard as the others. So where some of the modern stuff starts at kind of £15,000 going up to 22, 23 for the H2 and the 1299 Panigale S. This is only 12.8. So So it's not quite as cheap as the Gixxer 1000, and the ZX-10R is in a similar league, but it's definitely at the cheaper end of the spectrum. And that is probably what is really helping keep it afloat in the market, is that Honda's got a very aggressive PCP scheme at the moment, so it's relatively affordable. If you've absolutely got to have yourself a Fireblade, but you've got a bit more cash in the bank, then you can upgrade to the SP version. So it's £3,000 extra, and what that money gets you is a blueprinted engine, so the engine's a lot smoother. You get fully adjustable Öhlins suspension, front and rear, Brembo brakes, and extra grippy Pirelli Supercorsa tyres. Last year's SP model came in the HRC colour scheme, so blue, white and red, but now they're only doing the Repsol, so it looks pretty much exactly like this, except you get all your upgrades. So why didn't it make it onto the test? Well, there are so many good motorcycles these days, especially sports bikes, and they're so sharp and they've got so many electronics that they've just pushed the Fireblade off the bottom of the list. And that's not to say it's not a good bike, it's great, and it's especially good on the road, but it's just not quite sharp enough to cut it on track.